Good afternoon, parents, and our video today is talking about problems created by loving parents. And so I am gonna rat out my father today. Now, most of you know I have an absolutely awesome relationship with both my parents. They are fantastic role models. They've been together for some 58 years. And so it's always funny when people talk to them because my mom will say, yep, I've been married for 58 years. And guess what the number one first question she gets is? To the same person? Because that just doesn't happen a lot these days. So a definitely thumbs up and wiggle to my parents for being awesome role models. But what we want to talk about, as we were discussing in previous videos, working with kids and developing your child. Being a proactive parent means taking and understanding the path or the end result that you want your child to reach, and then building the path backwards to where your child is at. And unfortunately, all too often, parents are overwhelmed these days, especially with school coming up in a few weeks. It's gonna get a lot hairier, and I sympathize. But by being so overwhelmed, parents fall into a reactive mode, and so they're always trying to put out fires, and their attention is shifted to wherever the current issue is. And we can agree, that's not the best way to parent. I understand sometimes that you have to be in that mode by what's going on, but our goal is to ultimately be working on proactive. So this is an example of what I mean. Growing up, my dad was one of those people that was, we're driving or we're going wherever we're going, we're gonna drive and we're not stopping until we get there. So his mindset was, we're going on vacation, let's get everything packed, let's make sure we don't forget anything, and let's get there as quick as we can so that the family can enjoy the vacation. The problem is, as a 5, 6, or 7-year-old that I was at the time, I didn't know that plan. I didn't figure that plan, and I wasn't part of that plan. I started to develop stress and worry about traveling because suddenly it was, you're gonna put me in this small little box and we're gonna be driving for hours and hours and we're not gonna stop. Well, what if I get thirsty? What if I need to use the bathroom? What if whatever else? I just wanna stretch my legs. All of those things were taken off the table because my dad was driving and we're gonna drive until we get there. That happened pretty much throughout my childhood. So as I got into my 20s, I started doing martial arts tournaments and traveling all over the United States. Well, guess what? I didn't like traveling. And for the longest time, it took me probably 10, 15 years to figure out, well, what's the problem? Why don't I like traveling? And it was because of all those childhood small traumas growing up that I started to figure, well, gosh, every time that we got into a car and went on the road trip, I knew that, boom, I was gonna be locked in this thing and there was no chance of escape and there was no chance of stopping and there was no chance, and if things went wrong or if this or this, right, it started to cause a lot of stress and worry. So as I was an adult, obviously I didn't have my dad right there saying, well, you can't stop, but it was so ingrained that I still didn't like traveling. That then led to, guess what? I had to decide if I wanted to travel here or if I wanted to travel there and what were gonna be the problems. So the whole process of traveling was completely different. Now, if you are a very worldly person, like some people I know, they've traveled all over the planet and all they can talk about is all the great experiences they've had and all this and all that stuff. And that's fantastic. I'm great that, I'm excited that you were able to do that. For me, right, it's still in the back of my head, there's that little voice that starts talking stress. So like I said, it took me about 15 or 20 years to figure out what was causing this stress, then change the script in my brain. Fortunately, I had good mentors and teachers that I was able to be aware of it, understand it, and change that mindset. But just think, how many people don't? How many people stay trapped in their childhood and don't make a change or a new process and end up suffering to whatever extent? I've missed out on a lot of travel. I don't blame my dad, right? It's just a fact. I haven't traveled a lot because I've chosen not to travel a lot. Regardless of what the cause was in my subconscious or the back of my brain, the idea is that's what happened. So what we want to do is be proactive parents and really be conscious of what are the things that you're teaching your child. And this even extends to grandparents, and we talk about the community raising your child. Who is around your child and what messages are they sending to your child? And so I had a conversation today, for example, and my grandma did this as well on my mom's side growing up. Whenever it was my brother's birthday, I got a present. So, in some fashion, there develops a sense of entitlement. Well, it's my brother's birthday, I should get something, which makes no logical sense whatsoever. So, being able to look at things like that and look ahead of time and saying, well, if I teach my child this, then this is the potential problem, and then being able to change or circumvent that issue. So that's ultimately what I want to get across to you today is, again, I know every parent loves their child. That's not even a question. But what we're talking about now is becoming an awesome parent coach. Not all parents coach their child to success. And that's what I'm hoping to develop for you guys, is help give you some tools, some tips, and some techniques that will be able to help. So as always, if you have any questions, put them down in the comments. Let's have a conversation. If you want to schedule a call, let me know. I am more than happy to help any parent on the planet that reaches out and says, I need help. Because that right there shows me somebody that's interested in making their child better, or having the best version of themselves, as we say, to be able to grow up to be an successful adult. And ultimately, that is our goal here, is to make sure that every child grows up to be a successful and happy adult. All right? Be proactive. Be a great coach, and hey, have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.